welcome. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. TFF episode 4, our second of the TFF podcast. Obviously, as mentioned, we had some technical difficulties on the first one, but this is going to be, I guess, our first full episode then of the TFF podcast. We're just going to look in terms of reviewing what's happened this weekend. Jovan, how you doing?
Yeah, doing great. Midday here in the tropical, the beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. So we'll talk to you about every single match that went on in match day 5. And basically, just so we're all aware, these games happened from the 17th to the 19th of October. And there's some interesting results, some results that might be a little bit of a surprise, and others that we might have expected.
With these episodes, we're going to keep them coming every week. We're going to try to do it in the small gap kind of between the last match and before the first match of the following week. So kind of between the Monday to Friday window. Get out there for you. It's gonna be what I think is quite in-depth analysis, which I think is quite important.
Before we get into this, what's all the pay-per-view situation about? So I heard that they're kind of trying to make some games pay-per-view, £15 per match. The special matches.
Special matches. Special
like
matches.
8 matches, 8 per club a year, which is a lot of, like, that's basically a quarter.
They're ripping
of
off
games.
fans. It's an absolute disgrace. They're ripping off fans, and it is a disgrace. It's nothing short of a disgrace. It's shocking. How can you charge? They pay enough to get Sky monthly. Sky Sports is not cheap. Many people watching who pay for Sky and can relate to what I'm saying, but it's ridiculous because on top of that, you want to charge £15. Like, the only reason that fans can't go to the games at the moment, that's why we're stuck here watching it. And you want to charge fans to watch one-off matches? It's just insane. It's £15 as well. Like, okay, £5 maybe. Like, I still think that's a bit of a push. £15 for a game. This isn't boxing. This isn't like an event that's got you don't see like Jose Mourinho and Frank Lampard getting in press conferences and doing weigh-ins a month before like the two teams play. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same. So the thing with boxing, it's a build-up, right? And UFC, it's a build-up up to the event. With the matches, they come so quickly. You shouldn't be. I mean, it's a joke. I could go on for ages, but
yeah. So basically, for Canadians, so I pay for DAZN. I think it's $20 a month, but you get all the Premier League matches. You get championship matches. You get Italy. So whatever, Champions League, Europa League.
It's different in the UK, like, because this is where it's actually played. So there's issues with there's like a law against doing any games on TV that happen at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. That's why usually all the 3 p.m. games aren't on TV. But obviously, whilst the fans aren't around, they're just putting all the games out there. But and that's enough. But like, the fact you want to charge for pay-per-view is ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think people need to know why, because I just learned that maybe last year when they talked about there's a rule where you can't have that 3 p.m. Saturday. It's correct me if I'm wrong, but it's for those lower league teams, like League 2 games, the Venorem or whatever you want to call it, so that those people go and watch their local teams rather than sit back and watch the Premiership games. So I think that's what I was told. So it basically gets more fans into those lower league games, which is
that's spot on.
Tradition.
Yeah, that's spot on. Exactly. Yeah. There's so many football teams in England, whereas in Canada with these sports, there's not so many. Even hockey, where there's quite a few, there's not so many teams, and it's so far away from each other that you always get fans going to games every night, no issue. So that's why it's very different in Canada in that sense.
Anyways, let's get right into it. Everton, Liverpool, the first game of the week, of the match day. And we talked about that for about an hour and a half. It was good. It was obviously a game that probably one of the most interesting games, and definitely the most interesting game of the match day. You could argue with some other ones, and we'll get in there. But I would look at it 2 points lost from a Liverpool's perspective. Everton asserts themselves, shows that they're not just they didn't just have a really good start. They're a good team. They're a good footballing side, and they made it hard for Liverpool. And a point apiece, I mean, again, Liverpool won't be too happy. Jurgen Klopp expressed at the end of the game he wasn't happy. But Morgan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, firstly, fantastic game, as we kind of mentioned earlier. Absolutely amazing game. I think, yes, 2 points lost from a Liverpool perspective, purely because of the way the game unfolded, not necessarily the way either team played, but the way the game unfolded. I think, yeah, Liverpool feel like 2 points lost in terms of some tough decisions, obviously, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. Some tough decisions that happened during the game.
Yeah.
Which we
Arguably
can
more than 2 points lost. How about your world-class defender, center back, also maybe a little
yeah,
more detrimental than 2 points lost is he's out and it looks like out for the season, right?
it looks like he is. And there's so many statistics that are like without Van Dijk, with Van Dijk, and every single one is in fact like in terms of conceding goals from set pieces, way more without Van Dijk. In terms of goals conceded, clean sheets, wins, any important statistic with Van Dijk is just much better than without, like by a large difference that it's actually noticeable. And he's going to be such a loss. He's a leader, he's a phenomenal player, distributor, leader, vocal. He's so important to that team. He is the heartbeat of Liverpool. There's no denying it. Yeah. And he's going to be a really tough loss. So we'll see how they adjust. I think he's one of those players where A, he isn't really replaceable. And B, you have to change not everything, but a lot of things you do without him. You can't just put someone else in the same system.
It's the same role, yeah.
Without him, I'd say maybe Calvin Phillips is the same for Leeds, but without Van Dijk, a lot of things you do have to become different. Marking on corners, how you push balls up the pitch, how you defend, your shape, everything is going to have to change. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it. But yeah, it's a really tough loss, and we'll look at the tackle itself quite soon.
And it blows the championship race like totally open, really, because I would have had them as the champions at this point, but now they'll still be a good team. They're not going to collapse. Yeah. But
I wanted to get your thoughts on something. I feel like obviously in the last few years you've had 100 points, 99 points. This is what the amount of points you've needed to win the league. Ridiculously high margins, but I think this season you're looking at something more kind of reasonable, something we're a bit more used to, of maybe like 75, 80 points to win the league. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
For sure.
And in that sense that Liverpool maybe have a bit more of leeway in terms of Van Dijk going down, that they're not like, great, we need to somehow figure out how to not drop any points without Van Dijk, but they still need to pick up obviously a lot of points, but there's a bit of flexibility there in terms of where the bar is going to be this year in terms of the title winners, in the terms of number of points.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I totally agree. Like you look at Man City, they've already dropped a significant amount of points, and obviously now Liverpool dropping points. They'll definitely drop more points, and they'll get weaker without Van Dijk, as we talked about. But I would kind of flip it on its head and say, where it might be a little bit more relaxed for teams like Man City, for teams like Liverpool, they know they don't have to pick up 3 points week in, week out. How about teams like Everton? How about teams, obviously, doesn't look good this week, but let teams like Leicester, as you mentioned, Chelsea. I want to put Arsenal in there as well. So those guys, obviously, then also have a shot that, you don't need to be winning every single game. You need to be obviously picking up points. But is there a chance for someone else to win the league this year, other than the top two, you could call it?
It's going to come down to their performances against those other teams, because those games, Everton playing Liverpool, Everton playing Man City, if you want to look at it from Everton's perspective, every time you play one of those teams, that's a 6-point swing, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of 3 points for them or 3 points for you. So if they can win those games, that's going to go a long way in terms of them trying to contend for the title. And that's on the assumption they do well against, the lower down teams. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think let's get into some of the analysis of the Liverpool game. Okay, Jovan. So you've got Salah playing a 1-2 there with Firmino.
Going outside.
So the ball's going to come out here. And in terms of Salah's run, Salah's going to make the dash. I'll just do it in this colour. Salah's going to make the dash over here. Yep.
Yeah.
Receive the ball there. So that's kind of how the play's unfolding. But is there anything else you spot here?
I see a space on the left side that you could attack.
Yeah. So that's my biggest question as well. So if we just take it back here, My question is, you look on this side, you've got plenty of cover over here, right?
Yeah.
Plenty of cover. But I don't understand because you've got Seamus Coleman, the right back here. Who is meant to be picking up Robertson? Who's meant to be picking up that run? Is it James Rodriguez? Because James Rodriguez is over here.
Yeah.
So who's covering that? Is it Decoy? Because you've got your midfield three along here, nice line.
Yeah.
They need to pick up on that. Because what happens, the play unfolds, essentially the ball goes all the way over, just misses Mane, Robertson meets it, and then they score. And to be fair, Doucouré as well switches off, and he doesn't pick up Mane, and then Mane scores the goal. So those were my initial thoughts on the first goal. I think Everton need to do better defensively there and communicate or something, but it's not good enough for...
It's numbers. I think it's just like you just need a little bit more numbers there. But in terms of the way they're compact. I think it's good. Obviously, it's going to leave. There's going to be space always wide.
Yeah, but you look at the width of Liverpool with Henderson on this side, Robertson on this side.
They do a great job at expanding the pitch. They
get it side to side so quickly. And whether Doucouré, speaks to a bit more communication, maybe says to Coleman, I've got Mane, you get out wide, Mark Robertson, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think just a bit more communication there, but I'm sure they'll pick that up in the film room. So moving on to this.
Yeah, from that angle, it doesn't look great, huh?
You've got Van Dijk's leg between Pickford's two legs. I'm pretty sure I remember you saying on the when we watched it live that you didn't think it was a red card. Do you think that's a red card?
No.
Mate.
At the time, honestly, I wasn't too sure. Obviously, we didn't have the luxury of having pictures like this and replays. And honestly, when I was watching it I think maybe the next day, and looking at the replays, and I look at it and I think okay, from first glance, sure, naturally, it didn't look that bad. Obviously, it was reckless, as you mentioned. However, if you're looking at it from a VAR perspective, how are you even considering the offside? Because I think that's kind of how they justified it to themselves, that no, it's offside. It doesn't matter what happens after.
No matter where the game is at, it doesn't matter if the ball's out of play. We've seen red cards being given for things that happen outside of outside of the 45 minutes. You're responsible for your actions every moment of the match.
For sure.
Yeah?
For sure.
So I think the fact they didn't send off Pickford is pretty disappointing. So here's the next one. So this is the Liverpool, this is the second Liverpool goal. And I did talk about it during the game. So here you've got Mina. And look at his positioning here, right? This positioning isn't good enough. His positioning here. He should be side on. He's almost got his back to the rest of the pitch. He should be side on there. He should be head on with the ball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. He should.
And because of his positioning, exactly. Because of his positioning, all he can really do is stab his right foot at the ball. That's all he can do. But if he's side on there, he should be swinging his left foot around that ball, and he should just wrap it and whip it away.
Yeah.
But instead,
falls to Mo Salah.
Pokes his right foot at it. Salah with the volley, goal. 2-1 Liverpool. Yeah. Simple as, right? And then this final one.
The protractor. Everything's down there. They got about right angle, and they got a isosceles triangle. Let's just use common sense. If I'm looking at that right now, I'm giving that not offside. How 99% of people would. Not offside. You look at it.
Because you look where his foot is. You look where his foot is there.
Yeah.
And where the line is here. It's just not even close. How they draw. Let's just zoom in. Let's just zoom all the. I mean, how? What is this? What even is that line? What are they trying to do with that line? Anyway,
It's like they're the only FTM has seen something like this is obviously math class or trades, man. When they're trying to. No, I'm serious. There's no need for that. That's what I mean. Like you got the geometry going
Look
on.
at the man. They can't believe it. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not. No one here is a mathematician. Footballing people like this is not offside, and if it is his tricep that is just making him offside because he flexed it, and the other guys, and it just makes it half a millimeter offside. Shocking. That's why, like, that should have been a goal for sure. At the end of the day, the goal didn't stand. It's too
long story short, basically.
Yeah. Shocking stuff. All right, let's move on to West London. West London, Chelsea. Game at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea dropped 2 points. We talk about it being a team that can go ahead and possibly challenge for the title. I rate their manager. I think Frank's got a really good work rate and it's kind of push it. Like I look at it similar to Steven Gerrard, what he's doing at Rangers. He's increased the standard, increased the level of all the players.
What's your thoughts on this? Because I've got friends. I'm calling you out, Daniel Birnbaum. You know who you are. Frank Lampard isn't a real manager. He's a Spurs fan. Let me just add that first. So there's a bit of context there. But he said Frank Lampard isn't a real manager. And he was comparing him to the likes of Jose Mourinho. So that makes sense. But you still have to get experience. There was a time when Jose Mourinho was an inexperienced manager. So I think that's a bit harsh because Lampard's doing a good job.
Totally different type of manager. Guaranteed. Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. But he's so young in his managerial career. You can't compare the two. I just think it's unfair. Like Jose was there when Lampard was like in his prime, even a bit before his prime. Like the experience.
His prime. Yeah. I mean, it's different. Like you look at those kind of managers that are obviously really young and coming in that obviously got thrown. Like look at Lampard. Goes right in, finishes badges probably. Goes right in and manages Derby, right? So right there, and he did a good job though. Guys like Frank Lampard, a great work ethic as a player, comes in, increases the level of Derby, and has them a game away or a few games away from promotion. Increases the level, the work rate of the team. That's
such an important point because people too easily say like, Frank Lampard, got the managerial job at Chelsea purely because he's a Chelsea legend. But you look at Derby now, to whereas, yes, they had a few other good loan players when Frank Lampard was there, like Tomori, players like that. But he still did a great job with Derby. He still got them to the playoff, one game away from the Premier League. So, and that was taking on the Marcelo Bielsa lead side and beating them in 2 legs. Let's not talk too much about that night.
He's a legend at Chelsea. He knows the club. I think that's so important. Someone that knows the club, has had success with the club, and is obviously a great leader.
Share those values. Clubs have values. It's a true thing.
It's true.
It's a true thing, and I'm sure there's staff there who was, staff behind the scenes who were there when he was a player that will still be there. So he's got a certain level of respect, and he will walk in with a certain. He doesn't have to earn a lot of respect because obviously as a manager he does, but as a person he's known to the club. But I think it's an important point to say that if he didn't have that sort of success with Derby, there's no guarantee that Chelsea would have then just brought him in. If you have a season with Derby where you finish in the bottom half of the Championship, I don't think Chelsea are then going to go, oh, we'll give him a chance anyway. He proved himself as a potential, great manager for Derby. I think his success at Derby gave him that opportunity, opened that window.
And also the experience, I think,
vacancy.
Right? Like that's it. May get him in, but he also I think it's important to have a year at the Championship with a team like that is obviously not a team that was destined for the Premiership. He had a great season with them. It reminds me, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Steven Gerrard, what he did, the fact that he obviously a legend, Liverpool legend, whatever, England legend, he comes into a club like Rangers, that's a massive football club.
Yep.
And throughout, he's been given time, which is amazing. You need time. And that's what Chelsea will need as well. Then you're going to need time to create a really strong club. And he's taken a Rangers club and made it a top. Like they're 4 points, I think, ahead of Celtic right now. And he's just increased.
Big win last weekend.
Massive win. And they made it look easy, honestly. It was a shock performance from Celtic, and Rangers played really well. So, but he's increased the standard. I know, we're kind of going off topic here, but, those managers, you have to give them credit.
But without further ado, there's still some things Chelsea need to work on, and we're going to have a little look at those now. The first thing I want to draw your attention to, so this is the first Southampton goal. So let me just say one thing first. And this is a big statement, so be ready for this, okay? I think Timo Werner might be the best striker Chelsea have had since Didier Drogba. I truly believe that.
It's pretty early to say anything like that, I would say. That's the first
But I mean,
obviously.
Those 2 goals he scored, come on, man. Those 2 goals.
Fair. But I just think that's a statement like that, and from one game, or still early. But I know, I don't think you could take anything away with his performance and his goals. But again, to say that so early, there's a whole season to be played, and we'll see if he lives up to your bold statement.
Let's focus on Chelsea's defense, because as we know, 3-3, they conceded 3 goals, and usually scoring 3 goals should be enough to beat a team like Southampton.
For sure.
But
Guaranteed.
It wasn't the case. So let's have a look why. So this is the first goal. So Chelsea obviously going this way, just to give you some context. Chelsea going this way. Southampton going this way. I don't know why he doesn't go this way.
Yeah.
But instead he chooses to come back on himself, which I wasn't sure about. But he's come back on himself. I just want to pay attention here, because obviously Danny Ings is the one that scores here. Look at the gap.
Yeah.
It's a big gap, right? So I just want you to bear that in mind. So let's just fast forward. Let's fast forward a bit. So Havertz has lost the ball. And this is where I think Thiago Silva, and this is why I think they bought in Thiago Silva. He's past his prime, let's face it. The guy's 36. But his football IQ and his leadership is what they're going to need, because you've got Christensen and Zuma here. You've still got the massive gap, even though it's clear that Havertz is potentially going to lose the ball here. Zuma should be looking over, right? Zuma should see him. You've got 3 players here. Someone's got to pick him up.
For sure.
Someone's got to pick him
pressure.
up. It's not good enough. Someone's got to pick him up. And no one did. Zuma didn't communicate. And then they won the ball, play into Ings, 2-1. Yep. So that's the first mistake. So that's the first. And I think I'm going to keep touching on it. All 3 goals Chelsea conceded, communication. Communicate, one word. Communication. I'll show you what I mean. Right here, Zuma, communicate to Christensen to pick him up. All he's got to do, a few steps here, and he's got him. Let's jump into the second goal here. So, obviously, Zuma, shocking back pass. That's not down to anything defensively. That's just an individual terrible error. But there should be more communication between the two in terms of where Uzibulaga wants it. And there just wasn't. And I think maybe he got confused and muddled. Terrible back pass. But I want to circle him out here, because look at his...
Yeah.
Does he look desperate to get back and stop it?
It's casual. Casual, to say the least.
You've even got Azpilicueta running back. You've obviously got, I think it's Christensen there. He's tried to stop it. Uzibulaga is trying to get back. But does that look like someone standing there who is desperate to get back?
It's either you're the king of making players look shocking, or he's shocking.
No, he is shocking, because he has not made. If you watch it again, if other people want to go and watch the goal again, watch how he reacts after giving it away. He not even jogs; he strides back, watching it unfold. And then, if we jump here, look how close he is to getting to the ball.
Yeah.
Look how close he is. All because he strided back. If he ran back, when the ball came back on the pitch, he would have been in a position to win the ball and stop Che Adams from scoring. 100%. So that's just a lack of willingness. That's terrible. So let's look here at the final the final goal, so obviously the late equaliser. And I'm going to come to communication again. I'm going to circle Tammy Abraham and Kai Havertz. Now, they've got two players there. You can't see, but there's Theo Walcott behind Tammy there. And I believe it's Vestergaard there. So you're thinking Tammy Abraham would make sense for him to pick up the bigger man, and Kai Havertz pick up Walcott. Seems logical, right? And you communicate that so you know who's got what. But let's have a look at what actually happens. So here's Theo Walcott. Here's the other three. Why isn't Kai Havertz there? No communication. It's as simple as that. No communication. So we know how the rest happens. Ball gets nodded out. Walcott volleys. 3-3. Very simple. So it just comes down to communication at the end of the day. Simple as that. Just comes down to communication. And from Chelsea's perspective, it's not good enough.
No, and I think I'll bring something up. So it's interesting that we look at all those three goals and we talk something about, obviously, the communication not being there. So on the other side of it, you got a team that has spent a lot of money in this last window. You know, all the new players coming in. And again, relatively still new project. So I would argue that as a coach and as a team, if your biggest problem is communication, well, that's okay. It's different when you don't have the talent, or if it's different when there's other problems, with the execution of players. But the communication, if that's the biggest problem, I think with time and proper guidance, and obviously just players just getting used to each other. Overall, not the worst. Big 2 points lost though. Let
me counter that. Because you say communication as if it's one. Firstly, it's one problem causing all three goals really. There's pros and cons. There's an issue that thing became a problem 3 times that caused you to concede 3 goals. That's an issue in itself. The flip side of that is that, okay, it's only one problem. Once we fix this, that should solve everything. But do you know what expected goals are as a statistic?
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't understand what expected goals are, it's essentially a deeper look at your shots on target and your shots overall. And it looks at what sort of quality were the shots you were taking. Spurs versus Newcastle, when Spurs completely dominated and Newcastle, just grabbed a lucky penalty at the end. Spurs expected goals were 3.19 against Newcastle 0.94. So even though it's a 1-1 game, that tells you a big story. And it's about the quality of your chances. That's what expected goals is really, the quality of your chances. So let me put this to you. The expected goals for Chelsea-Southampton. Chelsea 1.75. Southampton 1.86. So what that tells you, they're similar numbers. I wouldn't get too caught up that Southampton's is better than Chelsea because they're around the same. But them being around the same tells you that it's not a dominant performance from Chelsea. Southampton had the same quality of chances as Chelsea, and that is an issue. That is a big issue.
For sure.
That's deeper than just an issue of communication. So with time, we'll see. But again, Frank Lampard needs time. And I think that's the most important thing here. So I think, me included, people are getting a bit too excited in terms of saying Chelsea title contenders. I think Chelsea top 4, great achievement this year for me. So let's talk about another game now. Let's talk about Man United against Newcastle.
Ole
gonna save himself, I would say. Skin of his teeth. Tight game, 10 minutes left, 1-1. Yeah. It was anyone's for the taking, really. Man United definitely were the more dominant side. Good performance, but they still weren't winning, and then they just switched into another gear. And again, that's what separates Man United, and reminded us. We talked about it. TFF highlights, if you want to go watch it. We talked about Man United in that episode 2. And about how they don't look great, and they were lucky to get the 3 points they do have against Brighton. But the way they switched it into another gear shows them what they have and what they're capable of.
We talked about it. Listen, they have decent players. They have really good players. But it's all about showing that consistently. For Man United, you have to be showing that consistently, and it's been a long time. I remember when I first obviously got into football 7 years ago. You saw Man United that were always game in, game out. They showed for most of the game that they could control it, like control the game. They were dictating, just kind of like how teams like Liverpool and City, for going back 2 years ago. But they haven't shown consistency under anyone since Sir Alex Ferguson left.
Yep.
And that's 100%. The biggest problem. They have quality, great, but how can you show it consistently?
He's hanging on a thread, right? So, yes, it was a convincing win in the end, but in terms of the way the game played out, it wasn't a 4-1 game for sure. 3 late goals really at the end of the day. So that gear that they shifted into, if he can get them to play like that all the time, and you see a change in performance, in results, then that's going to re-secure his job. But if you don't see that, and again, consistency, if you don't see that on a consistent basis, then you can consider Ole gonna gone, as we were saying. Ole's gonna go.
Great. It's still early in the season, but the way I look at it is he hasn't been able to create a team that's super, super consistent. Anyone involved in the club will be looking to win the league every single year. If that's what you want to create, then this team doesn't look like they're not even in my opinion, they're not even close. Right?
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's gotten, and you make a great point, I think it's gotten to the point where the expectations of Man United have fallen. And
massively.
You're right to remind, at the end of the day, they're the club that should be going for the title. But it's been so long since Sir Alex that the bar's just come down. So, for me, Man United this year, I would personally say top 7. Realistically, do I look like I would be stunned if this team got top 4 this year? Look at Tottenham come back. Arsenal are looking strong with Arteta. Everton are looking really good so far. I just don't see it happening for them.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's crazy that we've got to a point where it's we're saying top 7 would be not bad. Like it would be okay. I think no Man United fan will agree with that. And I think they're right too. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't be happy with 7th place, 6th place, 5th place even. Really happy. I would not be happy with that. But again, maybe we have to switch back and have a different expectation, because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and even 20 years ago, we didn't have a league with so much capacity and resources now, and where you have teams like Everton who have money, who are well backed, who are bringing managers like Ancelotti in. So we don't have teams like Leicester that have won the Premier League, in the last 5 years. So we don't have those kind of teams. So it's a different playing field. So maybe now we can't say, okay, you can't just expect to win the league, but still there's some of that emotion and some of that obviously history that makes us think Man United should always be looking to win the league. And yeah, so it's easy to talk about for sure. That's the thing. We have the easiest job is to talk about it. But I think is Ole the guy? I think we'll give him a little bit more time. But I honestly, if things are still inconsistent, come before Christmas, I think it has to be out.
Just want to go back to analysis points. Couple things I want to draw you on. This was the goal Bruno Fernandes scores. Great goal. And as much as we slated the offside in the Everton game, I just want to highlight how VAR can be useful. Because when we get to it, when we debate VAR, it has pros and cons. That's why it's a debate, right?
Sure.
So this goal was obviously given. And then, under review, you can clearly see the Matters offside there. And the goal was, quickly disallowed.
I think VAR is a great tool and it makes sense. The only problem with VAR is the people that are making the human decisions about it. You give the goal, it's close for someone that's a human. It's close, whatever he didn't call it. VAR went, checked it, it's offside. That is offside. What we saw in the earlier example, that's someone who really just wants to make his impact in the game. Some guy who probably is sitting up there. I don't even know where they have the VAR out in England. He's there. He says, given my angles and my ratios, he's offside. No, this is why but it's about the human part. The computer part's fine. We've seen it, and that's up to us to interpret it, and it worked well here. So, to be honest with you, I don't know. VAR should just basically eliminate the bad decisions and continue with good decisions.
Look at the ball here, right? The ball's left his foot. Now, this is a problem with VAR, so I don't want to get too mathematical here, but it's done at, I believe it's something like 20 or 30 frames per second. So what can happen is you can actually miss the exact moment the ball is leaving his foot, the exact frame. And when you look at the offside that was given Everton-Liverpool, you need to get the exact frame the ball leaves his feet. You have to, because the decision's that tight. If you're going to start getting that tight with the decision, you have to make that decision the exact moment, the exact frame. It is, and there's not enough frames, I think, in the recording at the moment to make the exact decision if you're going to get to those tight, those fine margins. So that's another point. This is from the penalty incident. I just want to show you this to highlight the intelligence of Bruno Fernandes. So this was the penalty incident when Rashford got a penalty around here on the edge of the box. What happened was Rashford got the ball, and for me, the logical run here is an overlap. Is the red showing up okay, yeah?
Yeah.
So for me, the logical run is an overlap there. But instead, what he does is he makes the run in here, and it kind of cramps up the space for Rashford. He does well, and he wins the penalty. I think it was after VAR review. He won the penalty. But Bruno Fernandes, for me, made the wrong run. But let's come to this one. And this was the goal. This was the Bruno Fernandes goal. So similar situation here. And, he could run through the channel here. He could even go around here. But I think he's learned from his mistake. And maybe he thought to himself, maybe he didn't, I don't know. But maybe he thought to himself, the run he made when they got the penalty wasn't the right one to make. So what he does here, this time, he runs on the outside of Rashford, who finds him onside, and a beautiful finish. And that was 2-1. And then they closed the game off. But that's the intelligence of Bruno Fernandes. This was 3-1. This was the fourth goal. And are you really going to give him... This is just before Bruno Fernandes plays the long ball into Rashford. Jonjo Shelvey, as he's standing there, not even making it. He's just there. He's just watching him play the ball.
This screen looks like a training session. Look at the Man United player. He's looking like he's making sure he's...
Do it!
Yeah. Shocking.
It really is. And I know it's the end of the game, and I know it's pretty much lost. But still, this is worrying.
Given no fans, and given the atmosphere and the environment they're in, is things like this happening and creeping in and trending a little and growing kind of a little bit more, because obviously there's no atmosphere. And if you're caught standing like that, and you're caught with you're looking like you're walking like an 80-year-old, that's not going to happen. Players aren't going to do that to themselves when they have 45, 50,000 watching them. So yeah, I mean, this is just something that comes to my mind, and maybe at the end of the game, they're gassed. There's not that 12th man pushing you on. Could be something to think about. Yeah,
no, you make a really good point, and I think at the end of the day, that's a good example. But the game's lost. But even if it was a close game, you don't have, from a Newcastle perspective, over 60,000 fans holding you accountable for standing there with your hands on your hips, bending over. You don't have them to hold you accountable. So that's what we talk about when we say atmosphere,
Let's talk about my Gunners. Obviously not as positive this week. Kind of coming off the hype of Partey coming and finally getting that, that's defensive midfielder we've been crying out for. So things are positive from there. However, the biggest problem for us, and it goes back to when Wenger was at the helm, we have trouble getting results against top 6 sides, top whatever you want to call it sides, away from home, and asserting our dominance there. We played Liverpool earlier at Anfield this season. We lost to them 3-1. And today, or this weekend, we go to the Etihad, and we couldn't find a way to get anything out of the game. 1-0 to Man City.
And it was there. It was there for the taking. It was there.
Yeah.
It was
we didn't
there.
pounce when City was weak. And And City haven't been that super dominant team that we've been used to, prior years. So if we want to play them, I think we play them now. And the thing is, you say that's similar to Liverpool. We weren't able to get points off either of them, which I think are really going to come back to bite us, because we played five games. We've won the 3 games that we should win, so that's positive. But really, we're sitting,
No, I disagree. I think it's just a sign of what we already know, that Arsenal aren't title contenders this year.
For sure.
But they're top 4 contenders. I think
so. I think so. And I think we're only going to get better. We've only got better since Arteta's been here, and this is his first full season.
Yeah.
The players are starting to, we're kind of getting rid of that old dead wood in the club and bringing in some new life. So,
and Partey is going to be crucial. Because having that person in front of the defense is so important. You're going to see a couple of examples over the games we do in this episode where having that player, that's why Leeds have Calvin Phillips. He's always there. And sometimes both wing backs will go up, both full backs will go up, but Phillips will sit, because you need that person there to break up the play or to be there as a presence when teams try and counter-attack. It's such an important thing. And so if you get Partey into the system, it's gonna be a massive difference maker. And Arsenal are going to look really strong. But yeah, I want to dive into a few things I got from this game. So this is just before the goal. So this is Leno's just made the save. It's coming out to Sterling. We obviously know what happens. He puts it in the net. I just want to point to Gabriel here. So put yourself in his shoes, Jovan. If you're a defender, the ball's coming out to Sterling. How would you react? You're in this position here. How would you react?
At this point, you have to go to the ball. You have to go to the ball. I mean, if he does make the pass into, it's okay, but you have to go to the ball. That's my opinion. Yeah,
you have to. There's no. I completely agree. I don't think no defender, no player should say that the wrong decision is going to the ball. But fast forward a few seconds, he actually drops back a few steps, and we know what happens. Sterling puts it into the back of the net. I think of players like John Terry. John Terry, sometimes he'd dive. He'd just head dive toward. If you're a defender, you've got to show no fear. And in a moment like that, you've got to charge towards the ball.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point that out, because that was the difference maker at the end of the day. It's a close game, but that was the goal. I want to come to this moment as well. So Arsenal are trying to play out the back. Saka's trying to win the ball here, but Man City are able to nick the ball back. But in terms of the defence, I don't know where Bellerin is, but I'll wind it forward a bit. And this was another great chance. Foden came in, and look who's trailing.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think he should be in this picture here. It's the wrong side of the pitch. So why Bellerin's so high up when the ball's on this side of the pitch, I don't understand. So, and as you can see, it almost cost them, because Foden almost scored here. And Bellerin, as you can see, is trailing back. For me, the sharpest player going forward was Saka. Would you agree this game?
Yeah, for sure. He's been a really good player for us, and he's only going to get better, in my opinion.
He's really clever. Which is off a bit there. And Saka just sees that little gap, and then Xhaka is able to find him with a lovely pass. But just the vision to be able to see that run, I think was something worth mentioning. So, because Saka's a young player, but he seems to be quite intelligent in terms of the runs he makes. Ball, There were a couple times similar to this, but I think this was the best one.
We would have obviously liked to get something out of the game, but as you mentioned, it just shows that we're not there yet in terms of challenging seriously for the title. Anyways, let's head out to the other side, the other region of North London, and the massive collapse of the Spurs against West Ham United, and David Moyes back on the bench. Obviously, Gareth Bale back in North London, Harry Kane, the likes, players that should be.
He almost had his return moment. 3-2, chance to put the game to bed. Oh, just put it wide. Oh, watching that hurt. That hurt, because obviously no one knew at the time. They thought, yes, it would have been a great kind of return moment, his time in the spotlight, but Tottenham are still going to come away with the 3 points. Obviously, events went differently, and now you look at that chance and be like, wow, he really needed to put that in the back of the net, not even for himself, but for the Spurs.
For the team.
For the team. Yeah, I want to break down a couple things here as well. You're going to have to excuse me because I'm going to get pretty intense right now because some of these really, really frustrate me. This was the second West Ham goal. So this was just before the pass was made. So you look at Lucas Moura here. He's looking. He's aware. He's looking. He knows he's there. But then here's the problem. So when Yarmolenko steps up a bit higher, Moura's just stepped up here and he's just gone a bit too high. Just a bit too high. That he's then exposed that space. The run's made, the ball's played, and it was an own goal. It was one of those tough own goals. It's hard to defend, but this is the one. Sergio Aurier here. They gave away a free kick before Lanzini's goal. What a goal! We'll talk about that in a minute. But Sergio Aurier here, the ball comes to him. He took a touch. And the ball ran a bit away from him. Snodgrass comes in and he gets fouled. Free kick. Why? It's the 93rd minute. Why are you playing around with the ball? One touch. Either get rid of it or play it into one of your teammates, right? This is nonsense. I don't care if you play for Manchester United or Colchester United. You get rid of the ball. I don't care if you play for Tottenham or if you play for Rochdale. When that ball comes, 3-2, in added time, you get rid of the ball. There's no debate. It pisses me off because I don't know what he's doing here, Sergio. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's given away the free kick. And here it is. So here's what I have to say about this as well. And I think too many people are sleeping on this. I want to underline... This is Reguilon. So I just want to underline Reguilon here. So he's watching this guy here who's already being marked, but no one's really watching Lanzini. And yes, he's quite far out, but I think you keep an eye on him. But that's only because he scored the screamer. So I think 99 times out of 100, you don't necessarily have to worry too much about him. Play resumes. Here's my problem. So you see, he looks like he's following the man here. So this is what's going on here. He looks like he's following the man. But then, in fact, he doesn't. He's standing right here. He's standing right there. And then I want to circle this guy, Harry Winks, because just before the goal, Harry Winks, as this ball comes out, if I was able to hit the play button here, as the ball comes out, Harry Winks pokes a little toe at it, and that's how it runs onto Lanzini. You've got to put your foot through the ball. You've got, again, put your foot through. We have a Prince Harry, but I've just learned that this weekend we now have a Princess Harry. Absolute nonsense. You've got to put your foot through the ball. If you put your foot through the ball, you either win a free kick or you've got the ball away, probably both. So why Winks hasn't put his foot through the ball, I have no idea. And then let's not take anything away from
the
brilliance.
But it's amazing finish, and you kind of look at that and think there's not much you can do there. I mean,
goal of
there's
the season,
nothing
maybe early contender, goal of the season.
Yeah, contender for sure. And I think
also
all the problems happened before the goal. I mean, the fact that was, he showed the brilliance and you needed something brilliant, but there is problems in terms of conceding the goal prior to be even been in a position like that. It's that's just the way it is, and you get punished.
But amazing character from West Ham to get back in the game. Amazing character.
Yeah, we talked about it for West Ham after the two results prior weeks and how well they played. And you think, okay, can they kind of spur something on? Because they had really two convincing results. And this result, too, is convincing for other reasons in terms of just getting a point in a game where, you looked out of it. So I'm interested to see how they respond, but I would be very surprised if they get in the top half. I think I'll also be relatively surprised this year, just given the amount of competition there is. But overall, Win 3 points, don't go to Tottenham. I'm a happy guy, so overall, a good result from my perspective. I wonder if your dad thought back in the day that he'd have like two like kids that are English kids. Like, what are you on about? You know what I mean? Like, imagine what he thought as he's like me, like just chilling. He's like, hey. He's like, what are you on about? All right, let's turn our attention to Sheffield United hosted Fulham, and it was a point apiece, and that one 1-0. Obviously, Mitrovic could have sealed 3 points for his club, but he was rather.
I just want to play it back to
pointed.
your little speech about Mitrovic. If you give him the ball, scores a goal. That's what I remember you saying, something along those lines. Apart from the Leeds game where they scored 3.
Put Mitrovic on the pitch and you'll get goals. That's one thing I've learned.
They've been doing that, and he hasn't.
Bro, Mitrovic is the only. I mean, I think Fulham are going down, but if they do stay up, it's because of one reason. Because Mitrovic will score a ton of goals. But I mean,
let's just recap. Let's just recap this match, okay? Yeah. So he misses a penalty, and then he gives away a penalty that Sheffield United equalised from. 3.
Put Mitrovic on the pitch and you'll get goals. It's not shot.
For me, Sheffield United have been, not bad this season. They just aren't picking up the points. Leeds was a tough one because they, interesting fact, going back to the expected goals, they had a higher expected goals against Leeds than Man City did. So, in other words, they created better quality chances against Leeds than Man City. Fulham game was the chance to, same with Wolves. Wolves don't give a great performance, but they beat Fulham. It's a chance to get 3 points, get some momentum going, especially at home. Not that this is important nowadays, but especially at home, you have a chance to just make a bit of a statement, just say, like, we're still here, And they didn't do that for me.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. Fulham, as I said, Mitrovic missed the penalty and then gave away a sloppy kicking the guy's ankle. I just, so almost a gift. Almost just a gift, just to give Sheffield United a point there. So it's starting to be more than just a few signs, Sheffield United. It's starting to get concerning. Yeah, I did not have them as in the relegation fight this year. Did I think they would have another season as successful as last year? No. Could I think they could even be in the bottom half? Yes. Did I see them in the relegation battle, though?
Well, I would look at it like this. It's second season syndrome for them. And obviously, you just touched on it perfectly there in terms of if anyone was to expect that they do the exact same thing and the exact same job, then they'd be really in a different reality because they did a great job. They played good football. The thing is, we talked about in previous episodes, they play good football. They're a tough side to go, like especially talking about last year. But just to kind of reshift where the bar is for them, I think the club has to be happy with another season of Premier League next year, because a lot of these teams, sometimes the second season, things can go, wrong ways. I don't think they'll be in a big relegation fight, but as you mentioned, the more and more these results happen, you're playing Fulham at home, probably in theory, one of the games where you should pick up 3 points for sure. They didn't. But it's still early to call anything.
No, great point. Sometimes you're on such a high from the last season that when a couple games don't go your way, you kind of crumble a bit. You kind of let it get to you because you're so used to a different success, even if you're a team that didn't expect it, like Sheffield United. And a great example I can give of what we're talking about, Leicester. The year after Leicester won the league, they didn't have a good season at all. They finished definitely bottom half. Just seemed like a different team, really. I think Ranieri got the sack during that season. So
shocking too.
Yeah, that was. After winning the league, they should give him more respect. But anyway, Lookman looked very sharp indeed. Obviously setting up as well. Mitrovic had a great chance near the end as well to win it on top of the penalty. So, but yeah, Lookman looked really good. Obviously on loan from Leipzig.
There's another game that was 1-1 point apiece. Crystal Palace versus Brighton, a team that you have been saying that haven't been playing too bad football. They've been better than the results have shown. Well, another point for them in London. What do you have to say about this one?
With Brighton, it's same old, same old. Good performance, but not clinical enough. They've got to figure out this issue with scoring, with just simply winning games. They just never seem to have enough to get over the line. Obviously, Man United was a tough one, but in terms of the game against Palace, they were really good, much better. Palace didn't really create anything. They obviously got the penalty, which they scored from, but I think that was their only shot. Definitely their only shot on target, maybe their only shot in the whole game. So Brighton created way more chances. And I think well-deserved goal at the end, but I think they could have deserved even more than that. But, it's starting to get to the point where you've got to look beyond the performances. I stand by what I said in terms of Brighton looking exciting. They against Palace, in terms of the game, it wasn't the greatest game, but Brighton still looked positive, It just depends on, as a Brighton fan, what you're expecting this season. If you're expecting top half this season, it's starting to get concerning that they're not picking up the points. If you're looking at from an open perspective of, as long as we're in the Prem, I'm happy, then I'd look at more that the performances are very positive in terms of comparing them to the last few seasons. And there's a lot to look forward to. The team are young, so they're gonna grow together. Yeah, so quite simple. This is just the Brighton goal. Obviously, the Palace goal was a penalty. I just want to point out on the Brighton goal, the same thing. Defenders are so one-footed. I just want to zoom in on, I believe it's Joe Ward here. So, really simply, when you look at that, as your coach, Jovan, your football coach, what foot would you say you kick that with?
Judging on you, do you take it with your left?
With your left, every time, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about Mina at the beginning, about his positioning and how he used his right. You've got the same thing here. You've got a right-footed player wanting to use his right. You can already see he's off. Imagine him trying to use his right here. Think about how.
What I would say is he could have got over the ball with his left and played it back to the goalkeeper, and you start building again. That's what I would say.
There's so much you could do with it. You could wrap it round, play it down the line. You could switch the play. Or just clear it, just hump it away. Do you know what I mean? Just hump
or
this
that.
Is late in the game. It's 1-0. It's late in the game. But anyway, so quite simply, what happens? He tries to use it with his right. He fumbles it. It falls to the guy here, and Brighton go and score. And it was one of the young kids who came off the bench who scored to level it. So that was good to see. But just pointing out another error, just players not using the right foot.
Let's move to Leicester. And Leicester, who have had another relatively good start to the season. However, I don't know what's going on over with Villa, but Villa is the only team that is still 100%.
Maybe Dean Smith's dynasty is a real thing.
Dean Smith. Yeah, crazy against Villa.
It was a dull game.
Dull game for sure. Yeah.
Like, you think about how much promise that game has. You think these are teams who these two teams took apart the top two title contenders, right? Think about that. These two teams not just beat them, took them apart. So, and scored 12 goals between them against the top two sides, top two defenses, arguably. So you look at that and you're thinking the potential is huge, but really it was a letdown of a game. Really, really dull game. So I mean, not too much to say.
At what point are we going to say this team is no longer a team that is, in the bottom 5, 6, 7 in the Premier League, and they can actually do something? Because right now, I still don't see them finishing in the top 10, and I might have to, at some point in the season, go back and rethink that.
I'll give you a straightforward answer. 10 games. 10 games.
Yeah, and then we can figure it out.
After 10 games, I don't think it'll be exactly 10 games, but around then, I think it might be more like 8. But we will obviously look at predicting the rest of the season in the next international break. And I think around then is when I'll look at and you say, you know what, actually, this team's they're a bit higher. But no, they're definitely getting some attention. But I would be careful to jump on the hype train a bit too early. We're joking, Dean Smith's dynasty.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about Dean Smith. I mean, I know I had the pleasure of meeting him when he was a manager of Brentford. Visited Brentford, see what he did. And he had some time there. And what he did is he, and I believe before that, I might get this wrong, but I believe it was at Walsall.
Yeah, Walsall.
Yeah, so he then came to Brentford.
Language barrier.
Shocking name. But anyways, he built a good program. He was given time. He built a Brentford squad that is, to this day shows that they're a pretty competitive squad, especially last year. Obviously not under him, but so, if the more and more time he has at Aston Villa, obviously there were some talks with, maybe him getting the sack last year when things weren't looking too good. Luckily, the last day of the season they stayed up. And, who knows what he could actually do. Obviously, there's a certain level that you can create with a team like Villa. But then again, looking from another perspective, Villa's a pretty big club. Didn't they win the Champions League or the European Cup?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
back,
they have.
But yeah, they have. They definitely have. I know they have.
Still, once you do that as a club, you're no.
There's a huge financial difference in surviving 1 year in the Premier League versus like going straight back down. There's huge financial implications for that. I think we're talking hundreds of millions. Just surviving 1 year has a lot of value, so it doesn't matter how you do it. So that's going to be huge for Villa. And we've seen it already. They brought in more signings this summer. They haven't been hesitant to spend a lot of money again, but really good signings. We talked about it already in our episode 2. We'll try and get a clip out about that. But they've spent good signings, smarter signings, bringing in Ross Barkley on loan as well, signing Grealish on a new contract, which was massive. That's massive for the club. Sure. Big win. This is the build up to the goal at the end of the game. I think second minute at the time. So these 3 Leicester players, Slimani, Maddison, Chowdhury, these are your 3 substitutes. So they came on for Iheanacho, Pratt, and Mendy. So Leicester were playing a 4-1-4-1. And Mendy was your CDM. And he's come on for Chowdhury. Look where Chowdhury is now. Maddison came on for Pratt, who's a centre mid. Look where Maddison is. And obviously Slimani was a straight swap, striker for striker. But I'm just concerned. I get you want to score, but the team were very high here. They were very high. These are your 3 substitutes. And then we just moved the play along a bit here. And I just want to circle Chowdhury here, right? There has to be some sort of communication here. He has to get back here. He has to be here, especially if you've just come on the pitch. I don't want to hear a tired excuse if you've come on the pitch.
Yeah, he has to recover. I don't mind the press. I don't mind being there in terms of fresh feet, but you have to, as you mentioned, this is key.
You've got to get back.
Yeah.
Barnes might be tired. Barnes here, he might be tired. That's a long way to go, but he should be dropped. But more importantly, Chowdhury should be deeper, especially the substitutions they made. He is the deepest player out of the 3 subs, Maddison's an attacking midfielder. Obviously, Slimani's a striker. So Chowdhury's got to get back there. He's got to get back. And we'll see how impactful this was, because you move the play on all the way, to the moment Ross Barkley strikes the ball. Look who's there just a second too late to block it. Chowdhury. Let's say we just get him to here, just in front of us, Barkley, maybe just about here. I guarantee you, he blocks that shot.
Yeah, or at least, yeah.
Unless they walk away with a point, a hard-earned point. That cost them the point in the end. That cost them. So big 2 points for Villa, though.
Sure, for sure. And with that, I think we can move on to Slaven Bilic's West Bromwich Albion, who, if we maybe go ahead in time 6 months, we might be looking at games like this to be way more vital than we anticipate at this point of the season, obviously. And why I say that is because these 2 teams could be teams that actually are fighting for relegation.
It really could be that way. Yeah. It really could. You look at both those teams, and I think 0-0 kind of says that they're struggling to score goals, both of them.
Yeah, well, there wasn't much in this game, and obviously this game for both teams was important to get the first win on the board, and they both obviously shared points at the end of the day. I think West Brom, now might feel a little more anxious as we go forward. And obviously, it's interesting seeing Burnley kind of decline over the last few years.
I think that draw makes Fulham's draw look kind of a bit even harder on them, because they really could have used those 3 points to jump ahead of those 2 teams.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You know, that would have been a big 3 points. And it's just the way they lost it. You know, being up 1-0, missing a penalty, giving away a sloppy penalty, and then obviously Mitrovic missing a great chance at the end. Just looking up to the skies, wondering.
Well, only one thing to say is cue the music, because the next game obviously wasn't too positive, I guess, for you. Wolves finally getting 3 points, a good 3 points in the board, away from home in Leeds at Ellen Road.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's only one person to comment on this. And what's your thoughts when you saw that yesterday?
Oh, me. God. Yeah. What to say? Good performance from the boys. I mean, I'm trying to not get too excited. You keep trying to get me all hyped up with your comments. I can see them in the top half. I'm excited. I know what you're doing. I know the game you're playing, and I'm not. I'm just looking at performances. I have zero doubts of us getting relegated, and beyond that, I will look at performances and how we play. And I feel like if you set the bar really low, I'm just going to get excited. Do you know what I mean? If you set the bar low, you're just setting yourself up for exceeding that. So
shocking mentality, man. Shocking.
That's a smart mentality. Do you know how many times I've got myself excited for Leeds and it's gone under the bar and I'm left crying like a little baby? Do you know how many times this has happened? Like I can't do it anymore. I said I wouldn't do it when we got into the playoffs. I did it and we won the first leg and then we somehow we screwed up in the second leg. I've learnt my lesson. I didn't do it last year, so guess what? When we got promoted, I was ecstatic. So I'm doing that. I'm going for this approach this year because it was more successful. So I'm looking at Wolves as the performance. It was a good performance. Came out first half, amazing, great start. Really came. Wolves didn't know how to handle us. They didn't know what to do with the ball. They didn't know how to defend us. Some of the passing as well. I mean, some of the ball movement we had in the first half was just special. Like it was like watching like one of the top teams in Europe. It really was. And it's just a shame we couldn't seem to finish. It was one of those. It was a tough goal. It was a very unlucky goal. Obviously a deflection. Sent the keeper just not off balance. So one of those things.
Well, I'm going to try to alter your expectations a little bit more, and I'm just going to look at it from two angles. One, you brought it up, and you gave me a thought that results like this isn't actually that bad, because what it does is it humbles the group a little bit, brings them back down, because they have had a good start in both in performances and results. Yep. So it allows them to say, okay, here's a good humbling result, getting them back to work and back towards working towards obviously good results. And on the other side of it, if the goal maybe is to finish in the top 7, to finish in European places, trying to alter your mentality. A game like this against Wolves is a massive 6-pointer. Obviously, especially being at home. But again, maybe it's too early to have these conversations. But I think there would be a lot of fans of Leeds and a lot of neutrals as well that would fancy them to be in that outside shot of challenging for top 7. But again,
let me say this. Let me just say from Wolves' perspective, actually, let's give them some respect. They won the game, well earned 3 points. Great performance in the second half. Leeds had them in the first half completely. They didn't know what to do with themselves, but they came out in the second half and they fought really well. Size scored a beauty, which was disallowed for offside. Again, a great use of VAR. But no, a great second half performance from Wolves. And you know what? Like at the end of the day, it's one of those where you could argue either team had earned the 1-0 win. It was a close game. So yeah, it's a good performance for Wolves, and they're going to be happy with that because they've had a bit of an up and down start. Winning against Leeds after they just drew 1-1 to City before the break, it's a big statement. It's a big statement. So yeah, congrats to them. Done a good job. Much needed win as well if they're really pushing for Europe again, because then without it this year, so that gives them a chance to get some extra rest as we discussed and really make a push to get back in Europe. They brought in some new signings, so integrating them as well. So that was good. Going back to Leeds, as you said, we're playing phenomenally. It's been It's been an amazing start. It really has.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Never said phenomenal. Never said phenomenal.
Okay, let me say it. They've been playing phenomenally. It's quite a nice word. But yeah, I've been really proud to watch them. In terms of pushing for Europe, let's just build the season. Let the players start adjusting to the Premier League. And let me say this. There might be some people watching who are Leeds fans, who have been to a Leeds game. There might be some people watching who have been to a Leeds game with me. They've had the honour of me taking them to a game. Northwest corner. I'm in the northwest corner. That's where I am. But let me say this. When we get fans back in that stadium, why they're not building this new West Stand that they want to build now, I have no idea. Like, it is, maybe it's contracts, I don't know. But why they're not building the stand while it's empty is beyond me. But they want to build that stand. But forget the stand for a second. That's just going to be ridiculous. But when we get fans back in that stadium, look at the teams now. They won't know what to do with themselves. When we get that 12th man back in, they are not going to have a clue. They're not going to know what to do. I'm telling you, teams are going to crumble because the fans have been... It's like putting like 37,500 lions into like a cage. Like, when you open that cage and you get fans back in the stadium, they are going to roar. You have no idea what is about. The Premier League have no idea what is about to come for them when Leeds fans get back into Ellen Road. I promise you, when you get the fans back in, you can bet there'll be European football at Ellen Road. You can bet your top dollars on it. I'm telling you.
All right, so whoever agrees with that statement, that there's lions, there's 40,000 lions.
37 and a half.
Throw a DM in the Instagram. I'm going to send you complimentary ticket to go to Stadion Rajko Mitic in Belgrade, Serbia, and see what a real football atmosphere is like.
Flight
because
included.
No flight included, but that's... You've had the pleasure of visiting Serbia.
I would highly recommend not going there because with Belgrade you have to fly via Wizz Air, and it's a shocking airline. Only Wizz Air.
That's its own episode. Let's put it that way. However,
I'm gonna take you to Ellen Road.
Okay? Oh, gladly.
My treat. Let me take you to Ellen Road, and you'll see what I mean.
It's been good. It's been a good episode. We covered all 10 games of Matchday 5. Yeah, so I was just thinking during this episode that I'm probably never going to remember a Premier League season better than this one in terms of how I'll probably remember the results of most of these games.
It's great, isn't it?
So it's going to be a good one, and probably good because, obviously being in Canada, I'm never expected to go to a game actually, but obviously watching more of it is interesting and keeping.
I just think it's going to be. Who knows how it will progress, but I think it could be the most exciting title race we've seen for a while, for sure.
In terms of the amount of teams that are there, and now with Van Dijk.
In terms of number of teams, exactly. Like, I think it could be really close, really back and forth, up and down. Exciting chases for Champions League, for Europe. I think there could be a lot of teams in the mix. And when I say that, I mean, like, really close on points, like jumping back and forth, up and down. Unpredictable results. I think it could be really exciting.
On that note, Matchday 5, Premier League. Morgan, this has been episode 4 of TFF.
It has
podcast.
Been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Jovan.
There it is.
Stuff. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Keep liking, keep subscribing. It's only going to get better. I feel like every episode we're doing is getting better and better. We're starting to get more serious. Got the mics. You can see Jovan's is on the way. Is in the mail.
Bestbuy.ca. Waiting for
Canada Post. Hurry TF up. So, por favor. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and take care.
Cheers.